There we go. And then one more thing.
Devki, are you doing this Facebook Live also?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, we are now on Facebook. So actually, let me start over. Those were two important things that I had to do. So let me start over. So now we're broadcasting live on Facebook. Good morning. We're so excited that you're here. My name is Devki Radkar, and I'm the co-founder, along with my mom, and executive director of Setu International Foundation. For those of you who don't know, Setu means bridge in Sanskrit, and we work to bridge the inequality divide by providing socio-emotional, educational, and technological resources to underserved communities. We do this through three main pillars: the Kavita Vyas Mentorship Program. We're currently working with 2 schools in India with children whose ages range from about 7 to 18. And with the mentorship program, we assign each child to a mentor. So the child and the mentor speak at least once a week through WhatsApp or Google Meet. And they talk about the child's day, what they did at school, and different things like that. And they help the child work through and process their emotions. That's the biggest goal. And so we also have very dedicated teachers who help the kids with any schoolwork they may have, and teach the kids various subjects like English, math, science, history, art, Hindi, and music. So we also have a monthly webinar series, which you all are here right now. So thank you so much for being here. We know that it's important to give society free educational resources. So we host monthly webinars on topics such as self-care, depression, and the importance of vocational skills. We also have an Authors Around the World series where Renuta Gavaskar, a renowned social worker in India, talks about different authors. The last one, she talked about Rabindranath Tagore and Satyajit Ray, and it was a really good event. Now we have Dr. Seema Desai here talking on ending time poverty. Before I get into her introduction, I have one last pillar, and that's our empowerment project, in which we help certain families with a customized approach so that they can be financially independent. And with the Empowerment Project, we also give yearly scholarships to the kids that we work with. So to learn more about what we do and to stay up to date with information from Setu, please follow us on social media, and I'll put the links to our social media in the chat. So now I will introduce our speaker today, Dr. Seema Desai. Dr. Desai is a transformational success coach, dentist, writer, and speaker, and she serves as the co-president of the Austin chapter of Pratham USA. She's passionate about yoga, meditation, and self-actualization, among other things, such as reading, baking, and family. She attended Midwestern State University in her hometown of Wichita Falls, Texas, which is also where I'm from, and that's Wichita Falls, Texas, everyone, not Kansas. She holds a BS in biology from there and earned her Doctor of Dental Surgery from the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio. She spent most of her dental career serving the geriatric population of Austin in a mobile setting. She transitioned to coaching full-time in 2021 after spending a year undergoing additional training and earning various certifications. As a certified professional coach and a core performance dynamics specialist, she helps doctors and hospital and clinical teams boost their performance, maximize their potential, and enhance their well-being. As a mother of 2 children and the daughter of immigrants herself, her commitment to early education is strong, which is why she is so dedicated to Pratham USA. Along with several other Pratham board members, Seema helps to coordinate and run the summer readathon in addition to her duties as co-president. You can connect with her and read her story on her website, drseemadesai.com, and doctor is DR, and I'll also put that in the chat as well. Without further delay, here's Dr. Seema Desai.
Devki, thank you so much. I'm so honored and humbled to be here. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Hopefully my voice is coming to you and you're finding yourself in a state of peace and there's a smile on your face. We're just waiting for, I guess, the presentation to pull up and then we'll get going. This is going to be a somewhat interactive presentation. I like to stop and ask questions and allow people to comment. But if at any point something comes to you, just put it in the chat. And when we pause, Divki will moderate that, and we'll be able to get your questions answered. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Let's talk about ending time poverty sustainably and effectively. Next slide. So before I go into the presentation, some of you may be wondering what time poverty is and what that means. I wanted to share a little personal story with you. My husband and I were in desperate need of some reconnection. After a very busy holiday season, the kids were they were home from school for winter break, and we, after they went back, just needed some time to reconnect. And so we scheduled a day, found some time where we could run errands and generally just slow down, spend time with each other, maybe go to lunch. And we looked forward to it for weeks. We were so excited. We kept telling each other, oh, we can't wait until we have this day together. And so finally the day comes, and somehow, despite all of our best efforts, we didn't get everything done that we had planned to. We ran some errands, and then we had the plan to sit and go for lunch, and then get some errands done after that before we went and picked the kids up from school. And somehow we wound up with 45 minutes to sit down, order, and eat before we had to make the drive back out to the suburbs to be with the kids. And immediately my mind started to spiral. Oh my gosh, how did this happen? How could I have let the time just slip away? How am I going to get all this stuff done? I still have returns to make. I still have things to schedule. I still had to, this, that, the other. I wanted to connect with my husband, and now I don't have time. So that's kind of where I was at. My head was spinning. Next slide, please. Who's been there? I want you guys to think about this. Who's been there where you really looked forward to something? Maybe, Kushi, maybe it was a play date, right? That you were really looking forward to, or, for the adults that were there, that are on the call, maybe they're, really looking forward to seeing visiting their friends or family or an event. And, you get there and the time arrives only to find yourself completely preoccupied by all the stuff that needs to happen that's not happening in the moment. Unmute yourselves. Give me a yes if that's true.
Yes.
Don't be shy.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Yes, we are so, how human of us. This is completely a human quality. So I wanted to talk about this experience, this shared experience that we all have, whether you're a child. Even my own kids, it's never enough time. It's never enough time on the Switch or at the park. And there's always more that they want to do, right? And it doesn't change as you get older. So let's explore this a little bit and see how we can create some space and ease for it rather than fight it. Next slide, please. So let's define time poverty for those of you who are not clear about what that means. Time poverty, this is my definition, is a perceived shortage of available time as compared to what needs to be done. And I say needs to be done in quotes, right? Because we're deciding what needs to be done, resulting in large drains in mental and physical energy, your capacity to perform, effectiveness at those tasks on hand, the potential that you hold within yourself, and importantly, it sucks our ability to feel fulfillment. That's what I define as time poverty. Next slide, please. So when I was thinking about putting this presentation together, this foundational principle came to mind. Now, there's different variations of this in various spiritual texts, but in the interest of keeping it short and sweet, this is when I was going through coaching school. My coaching school had 33 foundational principles that we would work around and try to incorporate into our mindset and way of thinking. And this is one of them. Doing is effort. Being is effortless. Next slide, please. So I wanted to dissect that with you guys, doing and being. So what is that? What is that? What does that mean? So doing, as I define it, has these three ingredients. You're not in the present, right? You're somewhere in the future or somewhere in the past. You're not here in the now. Your values and your actions are not in alignment. So what you believe and what is important to you is not reflected in your words, your thoughts, your actions. And that can cause a really big discord. It can cause stress. It can cause a lack of fulfillment. It can cause skewed perceptions. And importantly, this last one, you are attached to specific outcomes when you're doing. You're so focused on, did I get this done? Yes or no, right? It's a very binary, black and white way of thinking. Is it done or is it not done? Is it good or is it bad? Is it right or wrong? So that's how when I say doing, these are kind of the things that we want to start thinking about. I'll talk a little bit more about something I call performance goals versus mindset goals a little bit later. But I just wanted to have you kind of whisper that term to you so you can file it away for later. Next slide, please. So when we explore doing, let's back up and talk about being, right? So being is not surprisingly the opposite of doing, right? We can switch to being. Next slide, yeah. So being happens when you are in 100% the here and now, right? Doing is where your mind is in the future or in the past. Being is in the present. You're not concerned about what will happen or what has happened. Your values and your actions are in alignment with each other. So who you are, what you want to create, what you want to build, what you want to discover, develop, that matches up. So, for example, I had a client who would tell me, I really feel guilty because I want to spend time with my family, but I have a lot of patients. And as a leader in medicine, I have a lot of administrative responsibilities and things keep getting put on my plate and I'm really unhappy, right? So she found her own empowerment and space by discovering that, oh my gosh, family is important to me and I'm not creating those boundaries with work. And as soon as she learned to start creating those boundaries for herself, her ability to stay focused and present on her kids dramatically increased, as well as, not surprisingly, her ability to focus on her patients and her administrative duties when she was at work, right? She's 100% aligned in her purpose and why she was doing what she was doing in that moment. And then lastly, the third ingredient of being is, though you may have a plan or an action item that you want to take, you're not attached to the outcome specifically. And again, we'll explore this more as we go through. Next slide, please. So I'm going to pause here. Devki, do you mind kind of fielding questions? And I've said a lot in these initial few moments. So I want to give you guys time to internalize it, process it, ask away.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat and I will read them out loud so Dr. Desai can answer. We'll give everyone 1 or 2 minutes.
And we'll have other breaks as well. So if you can't think of anything right now, that's totally fine. We can move on to.
Okay, yeah, I don't see anything, but if everyone, as we go through the entire talk, please feel free to put anything in the chat. And when our next pause or break comes up, I will definitely read that out loud.
Devki, sorry, I'm a bit late, but I have a question for Dr. Desai.
Sure,
Now,
sure.
could you please give an example of being, no, that when you do these kinds of things, or when you yourself are doing, you are in being, no? What are those examples that when you know that you are in being?
Absolutely. So we'll definitely get to that later as we go through the presentation. But an example of being, for example, my client that I was just talking about, right? We got to explore, okay, why is it that you want to, why is family important to you? What is it that you want to get out of being with your family? And she said, well, I want to feel connected to them. I want to feel like I'm making a difference for them, and I want them to feel loved. I want my kids to know that I'm there to support them, right? And so with that realization for her, everything that she did with her kids, whether it was reading a book, choosing not to answer emails, but to make dinner, right? Whatever it was that she chose to do that honored her value of family, it was done with the intention of, I'm doing this because I want to feel connected to these people, because I love them. So it was a state of mind, right? I'm feeling connected. I'm not getting dinner done, right? That wasn't the goal. It was, I'm serving my family. This is how I'm showing them love. And I think you'll get more of a clear understanding as we go through and explore more. But I'm curious how well that sufficed for at least a short-term explanation.
No, that's good. That's very good. No, I will wait to hear more, but really good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for asking. So let's talk about this first ingredient of doing versus being. I mentioned being in the future or in the past when we are doing, right? So as you follow along this line, the future has not happened yet. And how very human of us, the brain is wired, right, to find patterns so that we can detect anything that may be unsafe and avoid them or prevent them from happening. The human brain also spends time in the past, right? Well, what if there's regrets, or there's, even in good times, right? You can be stuck in good memories, consistently living in the past, holding on to the past. The problem is you have no control over the past, and you actually have very little control over the future, right? You might be able to impact it, but not while you're sitting here. I cannot impact what's going to happen 5 years from now if I'm living 5 years from now. So our ability to control what happens, and importantly, we have a small factor in what happens, right? We do have a say in our future, but there are so many other factors. I can think, oh, I'm going to go to the grocery store after I finish this presentation, right? I'm going to go to the grocery store. Now, God willing, that will happen. But what if a car comes and, I get in a fender bender and I wind up not going to the grocery store today because I had to take care of some other stuff. And, there's other things that come into play. Or maybe somebody calls and says, hey, why don't you come for dinner? Well, I don't need to then go to the grocery store. So why am I worrying about going to the grocery store after this presentation? It's just one example of how we can tend to live in the future and we want to plan, but then we wind up attaching ourselves to what we think is going to happen, when in reality, there's other factors that come into play in determining what actually does happen. Importantly, we spend a lot of energy in the future or in the past, mental energy, thinking about what was. Oh, I should have said that. I can't believe my mom said this, or my sister did that, or I can't believe my kid, got a whatever grade, or my friend didn't play with me, right? Those are things that kind of happen, and that prevents us from seeing what's in front of us. Next slide, please. So the beauty of being in the present, this is where being happens, right? We never say doing in the present, you're being in the present, because you have the maximum amount of control. I can't control what happens in the next 5 minutes. I can't control what happened in the past, but right now, I can choose my thoughts, my energies, my intentions, my words. And there's a process to it. But my point is, we can build awareness, we can create, it's like a skill that we learn, like when we learn to read or learn to write, the more we do it, the better we get at it. And this is where we have the maximum amount of control. And we have the most energy, the maximum potential power and effectiveness to actually create what we want in the present, to then create a future that is desirable. Next slide, please. So I mentioned our actions and our values being in alignment when we're being, as one of the second ingredients, right? So an example of, so alignment allows the release of things that do not fit into the equation without guilt or judgment of others, the situation itself, right? So for example, when you really, really want to, you have this value of service, right? You want to help other people and you want to make a difference in the world. And yet the things you're saying and doing don't allow for that. There can be some guilt. Oh, I should be, I should be helping someone. I should be, but there's a malalignment there. And so then we catapult ourselves into the fear of what will happen because of that, or what will happen if I don't. A lot of people, we focus on the idea of how much money to make, right? Or our grades in school, right? Well, I've got to make an A in school, or I've got to earn X amount of money in school and in work. Or my mom will be mad at me. I won't be able to, whatever. There's a fear of not having or not doing, versus when you're being, those fears kind of fall away. So for the kids on here, I wanted to connect a little bit more with them because I know that this is a hard concept. So if there's any kids listening, Kushi, I don't know if you're still here, but this is like when maybe mom or dad tell you to do homework, right? You should be doing homework, but you really want to play, right? That's hard when you want to play, but then there's homework. Or maybe you need to clean your room, or maybe, you need to go help somebody and what you want to do is not, it's not meeting up, right? And that's where it can feel really, really hard sometimes. And that's very, very normal. Okay, next slide. So I mentioned fear, right? We are often living unbeknownst to us in fear. And when I say fear, I don't mean about to die fear. I mean, maybe there's a little mild concern. Maybe there's a little anxiety. Maybe there's a lack of clarity that's unsettling, right? But when we live in the future, I've got to earn money now. I've got to do well in school right now, because otherwise, if I don't do well in school, or if I don't earn all this money, or if I don't whatever, then this and this and this and this will happen. And then you're on the train, right? You're on this runaway train and you're thinking about all the things that might happen that haven't happened. And the funny thing about fear is it's false evidence appearing real. It's not true. The things that we fear have not necessarily happened. Now, I will caveat that by saying there are times when the fear is real. Fear exists to keep us safe. So yes, we buckle our seatbelts when we sit in the car because for fear of being injured, right? We get vaccinated, or we, whatever it is, right? We take these things because there's a real risk. So fear is an important thing to recognize and honor, but it's not something we need to allow to rule our lives. Next slide, please. And so this is the last ingredient, right? When we're talking about being attached to specific outcomes or specific goals. I mentioned performance goals versus mastery goals. And we had a question about what it is to be being versus doing and what that looks like, right? So a performance goal is something like losing X amount of pounds, or earning X amount of money, or getting a certain number of clients, or buying or having a material item of some sort. I have to have a house that looks like this, or a car that looks like this, or I have to have, whatever it may be. And this is something that, that we as, at least for me as a child, and I know for my kids too, everyone, how human of us, it's very easy to get stuck in this idea of obtaining validation and praise from somebody else. Now, praise is important. Encouragement is important, right? We have to build each other up. But when we set focus on, I'm going to do X, Y, Z so that my mother-in-law will be happy with me, or so that my husband won't get mad at me, or so that my kids will be happy, right? Like needing that validation from somebody else and attaching so much of what we're doing and our why to somebody else outside of ourselves. We have no control there, right? We only control what's in here. So the flip side to that is, instead of losing 5 pounds, my goal is to feel better. Right? So, well, what do I do to feel better? Maybe I didn't get time to exercise today, but I ate a salad, I took a walk, and I feel better, right? And when you start attaching to, a feeling of connection, a feeling of ease, a feeling of abundance. I just want to make an impact, right? Whatever that is. It's not about the number of clients you have or the number of books you sell or whatever. It's about, did I make a difference in someone's life today? Did I make someone smile? That gives us a sense of ability to keep going. It gives us the ability to serve without becoming depleted and tired and frustrated ourselves. So I hope that this slide in particular is helping to solidify and clarify the difference between attaching ourselves to an outcome versus attaching ourselves to just the idea of being, the idea of feeling. Next slide. So basically, how do we end time poverty? Time poverty means shifting from doing to being. Next slide. So I wanted to share with you guys how my little story ended. As soon as I realized that we had 45 minutes, my husband and I had 45 minutes to order, eat, and then leave, and I felt myself spin out of control, these little practices came back to me. And instead I shifted on, I noticed that this was happening. And then I said, all right, well, what do I want to do here? What was today about? Was today about eating and about getting my errands done? No, today was about spending time with my husband. So I just shifted. All right, what do I want to do? I want to connect with him. I want to laugh with him. I want to have a better understanding of how work is going for him, or what's frustrating him about his golf game right now. And as soon as I shifted to really focusing on having a conversation with him, yes, we only had 45 minutes. Only. It felt like 3 hours. And by the end of my time with him, we felt deeply connected. We were laughing. We were excited to go on to the next part of our day and be with the kids. And yes, there were things that didn't get done. We still had things that we needed to take care of. And honestly, some of them are still undone. We're all alive. We're all healthy and happy. Those things will get done when they're meant to get done, right? So just kind of a happy ending to things. When that perceived time shortage is there, we have a great amount of control, with practice especially, to be able to just tune into ourselves, come into the moment, really think about what it is that we want out of this time. Why are we doing what we're doing? And then choose our thoughts and our actions accordingly. Next slide, please. So I want to ask you guys these questions. We don't have to necessarily have answers out loud or even answers right here, right now. But my desire is to plant the seed for you guys, get you guys thinking. How might you shift from doing to being? And what areas of life would you address first? Is it a specific relationship? Maybe you're feeling rushed or inadequate in. Maybe it's maybe you just want to focus on work. Maybe it's home. Maybe it's philanthropic activities. Maybe it's just recreation, right? How do you want to shift? What do you want to create for yourself? How much abundance and where? Next slide. So that was another load of information that was disseminated right now. What, if any, questions are coming up for you guys? Maybe there's just comments. What are you feeling? How can I support you in this moment?
So first we have a question from Kushi. So Kushi, do you want to unmute and you can ask your question out loud if you'd like?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, as a student, I want to ask, like, if I study, I study frequently, but when I study one chapter, it takes me a whole day to understand it and to write all notes. So how can I give equal time to all subjects?
Yeah, that's something that I remember feeling a lot of. You are not alone, first of all. I think everyone on here has felt that way. Part of it is understanding that we all have the same amount of time in a day, right? So give yourself permission to understand. We just have this time. Whatever time you have is the time that you have. And of course, it's different each day, right? Sometimes you might need to spend more time on one subject and less time on another. Sometimes it may be different, right? But whenever you sit down, whatever it is, whether it's studying or playing or helping at home or whatever it is that you like to do or need to do, figure out why you're doing it. Are you studying? Give me an example of a subject that you are finding difficult.
Maths.
Maths, right? That can be hard.
Yes.
Yeah. Some people, math comes really easy to them, and some people not so much, right? When you sit down and you think about, okay, it's time to do math homework, it's important to, well, I will say it can be helpful to think about why you're doing it. Are you doing it because you're scared and you have to just get it done? Maybe there's a way you can make it fun. Maybe there's a way you can reward yourself afterward, right? There's lots of different things you can do. Setting timers for, I'm going to spend this much time on it and then take a break and study something else and then come back. Or, there's so many ways. And I know Devki can probably help add more to that. But when you sit down to do anything, it's very, very helpful, at least for me, to understand why I'm doing it. So if there's a way I can make it fun, or a way that I can say, all right, I don't enjoy it as much, but I know it will help me. And I know that I can do hard things, right? Sometimes it's just knowing that we can do hard things. And we get to celebrate when we do have those successes and we do learn. I said a lot, Kushi. How much of that is more clear for you? How helpful was it?
Okay, mom. Mom, like, my dream is that to become a surgeon doctor.
We need women like you to do that. I know that if you work with intention and a lot of love and take care of yourself in the process, you will be happy doing it.
Thank you so much, Kushi. One thing I did, and I don't know if this will help you, but after I studied, I would give myself some M&Ms. You know, sometimes it's just a good treat to tell yourself that you have something to look forward to. So maybe you can ask your parents to see if they can sneak you some chocolates or some Cadbury.
Or maybe some time in the sun.
Yeah.
That would be fun too, going outside to play.
Okay, so we have another question. What should be our first immediate action when we understand that we are not in the present, but worrying about the future?
I need to hear it again.
Yeah. So what should be our first immediate action when we know that we're not in the present, but we're stuck worrying about the future or in the past?
Okay, that's a great question. I have an equation that I like to use. It's awareness plus acceptance equals conscious choice. And what that does is say, step one is awareness. Create awareness that you're not where you need to be. Right? And what does that look? How do you know that you're not where you need to be? Are you feeling, physically in your body sometimes when we're stuck in the past or in the future and there's fear, that can manifest as, we're maybe breathing a little bit faster, maybe our heart's beating, maybe we're doing this. I tend to do this a lot, and I don't even realize it. So creating awareness for what your thoughts are and what that's physically manifesting like in your body is kind of step one. And then step two is accepting that. Oh, I was worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. There's no judgment there. How human of you, right? Just accept it. I always say that fear or even this, the judgment that we create for ourselves of the situation, for other people, it's kind of like, if those of you have dogs, like they bark when the doorbell rings and they think that there's something there, right? They think that there's something that is unsafe. And when you open the door and they see, oh, it's a friend, right? Then they calm down. That's what judgment is. It's trying to keep you safe. It's that dog that's barking, barking, barking. But, we just, okay, I hear you, puppy dog. You think we're unsafe. I hear you. There's no judgment there. So creating awareness, accepting what that is, and then bringing yourself back to, all right, well, now what do I want to do? That's that conscious choice part of the equation. What do I want to do now with that awareness and acceptance? Do I want to stay here? Or do I want to think differently, do differently? And you get to pick what that is. So I hope that answered that question well enough.
Yeah, I think that's those are all the questions that we have for right now.
Okay, great.
Can I? Let me talk. Hi, have everybody. Seema, this is great information. I do read some books and constantly thinking about these things, being, what does mean by being? But you made it so simple and understandable. It's really amazing.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, it's really like, I just was reading Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Wonderful.
And then that's what he talks about, being, and that's what our ancient,
Yes.
talks about, being and unconscious and but you made it so simple and practical. Definitely this acceptance, awareness plus acceptance is being consciousness. And then that's really powerful.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for your kind words. I see we have a hand raised.
Hi,
Go ahead.
my name is Himanshu. Firstly, I would like to say that great presentation. I love the way you were explaining all the terms. And right now I can say my heart is beating faster as I'm about to ask this question.
Great
I'm aware of
awareness.
yeah, I'm aware of these thoughts and feelings, and I can feel my heart pumping, but here I go. We talked about fear, false evidence appearing real.
Right.
We also talked about time poverty, how being present in the moment, we can get more things done and worry less. But
Mhm.
how does the procrastination thoughts affect being in the present? Being a student studying in college, we
Right.
have moments where we feel like getting up, doing things, and um, clearing more of the assignments, homework. But at the same times, there are thoughts of procrastination, like just laying down on the bed and thinking that we can do it later. So
Mhm.
how would you tackle those thoughts?
The initial part of the equation is still the same, right? Creating awareness for what those thoughts are, how often you're having them, what does it feel like to have those thoughts, and accepting, all right, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm experiencing. Then you get to create that conscious choice of how well is this serving me, right? If I mean, listen, we all procrastinate. It doesn't, that's also a very human quality. But when we talk about conscious choice, right, and creating more time abundance instead of time poverty, when we have that awareness and we can say, all right, well, how well is this serving me? Oh, maybe it's serving you very well in the moment, right? You're tired, you finished with exams, there's a lot on your plate, but you physically need a break. You mentally need a break. That's okay. Then it's not procrastination, that's self-care, right? So it's important to make these distinctions. But procrastination, if you're creating the awareness of this is happening a lot, because of this, I'm experiencing other areas of stress in other ways, then you can work to reflect on that. And pick one small change you can do in your daily routine that will create more of a sense of control, ease, whatever it is that you need. Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes earlier and spending a little more time on something versus another. Maybe it is actually taking a break and giving yourself self-care. And then that way, when you go back to studying or going back to assignments or reading, you're actually physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally able to give wholly. Himanshu, how much was that in line with what you were thinking?
Now I know that I have to make a clear distinction between self-care actions and actions that are procrastination for me. So once I get those things cleared, then I can proceed with the actions and thoughts.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for
You're
the
welcome.
explanation.
You're welcome. We focus so much on society somewhere got lost in saying, oh, well, if you're not tired and exhausted and crying and bleeding and sweating, you didn't earn it. And you have to work hard to get success. And my personal offering is that it's completely false. You have to work with intention. And maybe that means there's a lot of dedication there. Maybe that means saying no to something because you're saying yes to something that you're intentionally dedicated to. But it doesn't need to be difficult. It just needs to be in alignment with intention. What, if anything?
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, my honor and pleasure.
Can you elaborate on intention?
Well, I'm trying to think of how. Tell me what is unclear for you, I guess. Let's start there.
Like, I think for myself, we went to Hawaii, and there is this really hard path that And they said to set your intention, you're going to reach. I was like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, set your intention and you will reach your destination. So that was a little hard concept to make it little, you're making it so simple concepts. So just wanted to see if you can elaborate on setting your intention. What does that mean in simple?
Yeah. So setting your intention is right in line with being, right? When you are on this hike, right? Is your intention to get to the end? Or is it to enjoy the experience of hiking? Or the ability to know that you can do hard things and that you were able to successfully do them, right? What is your intention? Is it to be peaceful on your hike up? Is it to connect with your family as you spend time hiking up together? What is it that you want to be as you do this action that externally seems like, oh, you're getting from point A to point B, right? No, that's point B is not your goal. That is a side product. What is it that you are here for? It's time to, it sounds like you're on vacation. So relaxing, spending time with family, being outside, connecting with nature. Those are your intentions. You'll get to point B. Whether or not you'll be happy and fulfilled when you get to point B, that's where the intention is so powerful.
Vandana Maushi, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Sure. Hi, Seema. That was a really nice lecture. Enjoyed it a lot and got me thinking, and actually took me to past, even though I was not supposed to do that.
No judgment, no judgment. That's very human.
And I have been thinking when I was a young mother, caring for a really young child and my husband traveling, I was working. Things were not easy as they are now because we did not have the facility to work from home. Rain, shine, snow, didn't matter. You had to either spend your day off or you had to, bite the pill and just go. And I was very much in the habit of multitasking. And I actually thought that as being my superpower. Because that was letting me get through my hectic day. And now that my life is, my daughter is all grown up, out of the house, I am very relaxed. And now I can easily practice this being in the moment. It comes very naturally to me. But then when I see some young people, even students or young mothers, young people who are still struggling through their, not struggling, but they have a full plate.
Yeah.
A lot of responsibilities, I suppose, like you yourself. And I'm so impressed that with this, all this going on, you guys are managing. My question is that this multitasking, which I supposed was my superpower, and I still actually believe that, how does it align with this being in the moment?
I would ask you that question. What do you think?
Well, I'm not that young anymore. And, I don't have to do all that multitasking. And if there is need, I still tend to multitask, and I enjoy that. I think that still that is my superpower. But then when I hear about this new age knowledge about being in the moment and, focusing 100% on what one thing you are doing, but, that still doesn't completely align with me. I am still going with, well, if I can still do while I'm cooking, I can still listen to a book. Why not? Right?
So there's a difference, right? There is a difference. Yes, absolutely. You have the choice. Do I want to be so wholly in the moment that I can feel the knife go through each layer of the onion as I chop? Right? Do I want to be that present? Or do I want to kind of put this on autopilot and do it while I listen to a book that I really enjoy? Okay.
Mhm.
That's very different than multitasking where you're, it's funny, we have, if any of you have young children and have read them a book that's called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, and the mouse, it's like, oh, if you don't give a mouse a cookie, because if you give him a cookie, then he'll ask for milk, and he'll ask for milk, and then he'll ask for a straw, and then he'll ask for a straw, and then he'll ask for a napkin, and then he'll spill the milk, and then you'll have to clean it up, right? You just kind of go through this, and then eventually it's like you're right back where you started, and the mouse is asking for another cookie.
Mm.
Same thing, right? We as adults, it's like, oh, I'm going to do my laundry and do the dishes and, have a pot boiling on the stove. And, I can get to both, but the problem is you're not really being effective, right? Because while then the laundry is sitting there in the dryer, the clothes are getting wrinkled. And now you have to pull it out and iron the clothes, or you have to refluff it, or, there's things that we create more work for ourselves. Instead, the option is you can be efficient with your time. Yes, I'm going to listen to this book and cook, right? But it goes again back to intention. What is my intention here? What's going to make me feel fulfilled? Is it listening to the book? Then absolutely. You put the cooking on autopilot and you can do whatever and focus on that. If it's cooking a meal and creating a meal that you're going to serve to your family or even to yourself, and you want to focus on that, then focus on it. We all have these choices. 80% of us, and by us, I mean human beings in general, are functioning at default. And the default is I have to push through. I need to multitask to get everything done or it won't get done. Again, operating from fear-based thinking. And it's not new age knowledge. Actually, nothing I'm saying is something that hasn't been said even 6,000 years ago. It's just that,
Sure.
and so it's that shift that we can create for ourselves. Hopefully that answered your question. I don't know.
Yes, thank you. And I think the real answer is you start questioning again, and come to the point you are comfortable with. So you definitely started me on that. So thank you so much for your answer. It was very thoughtful. Thank you again.
Absolutely. And I wanted to add just a little bit more to that. You said something that was really powerful right there, was, going back and looking inside. So what the answer is for you is going to be very, very different for the next person. And that is okay. So what works for you, what makes sense for you, it may not be, true for the next person, or even it may not be true for you 5 years from now. It may not have been true for you 5 years ago, but every answer is important and unique to each person.
True that. Yes.
All right, we have oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just, yeah.
Okay. We have another question. So I had a loss I had been through a loss of a dear one a year back. I took time and allowed myself to heal, but sometimes I wonder if I'm being lazy or if I am walking on a thin line and leaning into depression, especially when I fail to act on my planned activities. Should I continue saying that it's okay to myself, or do I need to be doing something else?
First of all, my heart goes to you. I cannot imagine how difficult it must be to lose a loved one. So give, my deepest condolences. I can't imagine how hard it would be. And each person's healing is very different. And I would offer too that you mentioned it's been a year that you've given yourself. Healing doesn't have a time frame or a deadline, and it doesn't happen all at once. So there's the grieving process, and then there's the healing process. I don't know how true this is, but what is coming to me is it might be that you are grieving and that you are, maybe there's some healing going on, but the healing is happening and yet to happen. If there is a shadow of a doubt that there might be some depression or some anxiety, find a provider that matches your needs, that makes you feel heard, that makes you feel safe and understood, that is invested in you and your well-being as a patient. I know many physicians in our broken healthcare system, we're kind of, the end product is, how can I address you and then move on to the next patient? And I encourage you to be an advocate for yourself and find a provider that is wholly invested in your well-being, and explore it. There is nothing wrong with being depressed. I want to, as someone who's experienced depression myself, I had postpartum depression after my first child was born. I didn't know it. I never was formally diagnosed. My husband kind of denied it because it was easier to deny it. And the healing happened, but I didn't do it by myself. And I want to encourage you to seek help, even if there's a shadow of a doubt. So I hope that was supportive of you and offered you what you needed in the moment.
Any other questions from anyone?
Can I just add to that previous question? Seema, if you allow me to.
Absolutely.
I also have gone through the same situation. I lost a very dear, my younger sister 1 year back. Was very hard on the family. So for whoever asked this question, my heart goes out to you, and I can say from experience, I understand. I totally get it. I understand. And own that being lazy. You are not lazy, my dear. You are healing. I would also say that there are a lot of groups on Instagram, on Facebook. Find an appropriate group for you, because I have found it. When you express your grief or your feelings for people who are not in the same shoes as you, it's very hard. And I'm not saying that they don't understand, but they do understand with whatever experience or capability they have, but your needs are different. So you might feel that nobody understands. So please, I encourage you to join, find an appropriate group. Like for me, I joined a group called Dealing with the Loss of a Sibling. And you find so many stories there. You feel you are not alone. And there you find a safe space to share your true grief.
Yes.
Without feeling the fear of judgment or the fear of not being understood. You find that safe space. Very important, very important. And I am so grateful that after a few months of struggling, I found these groups. One of my friends actually pointed me to that. And I strongly encourage you to do that.
That's a wonderful.
So all the love to you.
Yes, support is so important. So important. And lazy is judgment of yourself. Allow yourself that space, just to add to that. It's so well said. Thank you for that. And thank you for having the courage to whoever asked that question. I am sure that was really difficult. So thank you for being vulnerable.
And then we will make this the last question. Miss Maya K, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Mayavini, you want to ask the question, or you are right?
You can also write it in the chat, and I can also ask it out loud as well, whichever you prefer. There you go.
Hello,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So it was wonderful, the tips you have given, the experience you have shared, but I have my own question. So I was in India working in a bank for 37 years. Now my kids are here, I have moved here, and I'm staying here for many years. And I was in a state of depression for a very long time in India as well as here. I was having medicines also, but now I don't know how suddenly I'm okay now because I joined a group called Gita Parivar. I'm learning Bhagavad Gita and I'm doing gardening. I'm meeting so many other countries, people. When I go for a walk, I connect with them. But sometimes I feel I can connect with other people, but not my own family. I don't say that they don't connect with me or they don't talk much with me, maybe with their own priorities, maybe with the workload they have, the stress they have. I totally feel that, but sometimes I feel lonely. I want to connect because I know I can talk, I can share, I can do so many things, I can teach. But I am very happy with my grandchildren. They're outstanding, they're beautiful, they understand, but still I feel lonely. I should not, but I feel lonely. I confess. But I have got so many habits. I read a lot, I do other stuff to keep myself engaged, listening music, learning things, but I feel that.
Yeah. It is understandable, right? That sounds like there is a connection that you're missing. And if you think back to the equation, right, that we talked about, creating awareness and then acceptance so that you can make that choice. It sounds like there's a connection that's missing somewhere. And, sometimes it's just exploring it and sitting with it for a while before the answer on what to do comes.
Thank you.
Yes, well, I wanted to add, it's completely normal to feel lonely. And I might offer that, continuing to do everything that you're doing certainly will help, right? But I would invite you to more deeply explore what connection is missing. What is it that you would like to, and not to think of it as what is missing. I would offer you to say, what do I want to create more of? Because the brain works in that way. If we condition it to see purple flowers, then all we will see are purple flowers. And we will miss all the yellow, all the blue, all the pink, all the equally beautiful colors that are there, because we're only looking for that one color. So when you focus on lack, then you'll see lack, you'll create lack. Versus what do I want more of? Then you're inviting more of that healing energy in. You're inviting more of the abundance and the ease and connection in. And I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, it will help. I will try that. I want to be a better human being day after day, sharing my experience, learning new things. Because life is so short and we have to do something good for us. First of all, for us, we should love our own self and to others then. Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you very much.
So well said. So well said. Devki, do you want to hop to the next slide? We're almost done. I just wanted to offer, guys, if you want more from me, I just came out with this book. It launched this week. It is written for children ages 8 to 12, but if you've ever been a kid living on planet Earth, chances are you'll find some pearls of wisdom in this for you. So my book Connected just came out, it's available on Amazon. Next. And here's just ways to connect with me outside of the webinar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Desai. I think for a lot of people, this really registered and was a really important conversation for a lot of people. If anyone has any further questions that they'd like to ask, Dr. Desai, you can message those to, I will put our email in the chat. And you can message those to Sethu directly, and we will forward that on to Dr. Desai. And I'm sure she's happy to, answer any questions that you may have on time poverty or on doing versus being. I think this is a really important topic, and we're so glad that everyone was able to join. If you have, if you have any other, if you'd like to volunteer with Sethu or just know more about what we're doing, I'll put again our social media in the chat, and I'll also put Dr. Desai's website in the chat as well to learn more about what she's doing, and so you can also see her book. But thank you all so much for joining. We really appreciate it, and we hope you all have a great weekend.
Thank you guys so much for allowing me into your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Wonderful.
I'm so glad.